Can I get a hey? Yeah, 2 times in 24 hours.
Amen.
Welcome back to Calling All Beings. I'm your host, DJ, along with the partiers that are in the building, my co-conspirators in fun, entertaining, and positive UAP discussion, even though the guest isn't from Louisiana. And Courtney's not going to say his name during her intro. Right, Courtney? Yeah. Hey, name it.
I think I did it
One
too.
love, man. Come on, when you guys lighten up, I just got doing hot yoga.
Man, Wednesday, back to back. I didn't even sleep after yesterday's show. I've been up for 24 hours, just sitting right here, ready to go for the next show. That's my dedication to this show, to the platform.
Well, I think it's time for us to raise the bar.
Oh no. I love it.
Look at what she's bringing.
Man.
Damn. Courtney, you've been plowing the fields in Pennsylvania. What the hell is going on over there?
Well, it was good. I got to Pennsylvania yesterday, and tonight there was a breaking bread dinner where all the local ladies come together and we share a nice dinner together. And I was telling these guys before we came on, I would give them one guess what the political table talk was tonight. So are you going to guess, DJ?
No, I'm not, because I love politics that much. What was it?
UFOs.
Yes, that's not political, man. I can dig it. Courtney, I'm going to tell you what, homegirl, you got some stuff going on, because the topic you've been covering lately was perfect for this guest. He's going to try to help in the same endeavor that you've been working with. So we super duper excited. So without further ado, party people, put those hands together for my man from the USMC who done got out and said, "You don't think I can be a lawyer? What? I'm going to pass that LSAT and I'm going to be an attorney. You're going to call me Sean Munger, Esquire. I put those hands together for Bob Plissken 09, also known as Sean Munger.
What's going on? Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Everybody's down
Can
there.
I get it? Amen.
Hey, Warren!
Welcome. How's everybody doing tonight?
Good, man. Welcome, brother.
Welcome. Thank you for having me back. It's good to see your face. I know we've talked on the phone a couple times, but it's good to see your face.
Most people don't say that, so I'm really glad to hear that. So people are like, you know what? You're better on the phone. So, or you look better on the phone. So I'm really gratified to hear that. He already made my night, Courtney. That was quick. She's on mute. All right. So, Sean, you know all the cabbies. We all know you. It's an honor to have you here. You are a disclosure. Oh, look who's there. It's Vinny Adams back. Okay, so let's just recognize a couple people. So first of all, before we go into the people that we want to recognize here, Julie is out tonight. I know she had family last night and it sounded like she didn't have a very good night or day. So on behalf of Calling All Beings, we love you, Jules, and hope that you're able to push through whatever this is and we get you back on here. You're a very integral part of what we're doing. Also want to say hi to Carol Encounters, Carolina, Tim from All Things Unexplained. Man, if you haven't been on their show, Sean, Tim and CJ and Smitty are brilliant. They're our friends. In fact, we got to book a show and we're going to get them back on. We're going to do the Cabbie and All Things Unexplained Roundtable. They also hooked us up with Thomas Winterton. So what we had last night, we would not have had Thomas Winterton without the help of Tim. Just like without Vinny Adams, we wouldn't have had like 4 or 5 different guests that he's helped us get and friends he's helped us make. So thank you, Vinny. And let's get with it. Nathan, let's start it off with you, bruh, man.
Sure. Well, so Sean, I work with attorneys, and so I kind of know a little bit about what that world is like. But I was thinking today, you've had some different training in your life. You've been trained as a Marine, and then you've been trained as an attorney. And I was just kind of curious, before we get started, and Intel as well. What overlaps do you see in those trainings, and then where do you see those things differ, and what skills from Marine Corps have really sort of you brought to the attorney world?
I guess let me first, before I get going, I got to throw out the disclaimer. So everything I say here and I represent is my opinion and mine only. It doesn't represent my current employer or former employers or any other organizations that I'm associated with. This is strictly myself or any other groups of attorneys that I'm working with or in any capacity. So again, anything I say would be my opinion. And if we actually get into some of that, I could hopefully discuss maybe the strengths of having disagreements in the organizations that you have and how that actually fleshes things out. But so that's just want to start off with a disclaimer that everything I say tonight is going to be from Sean Munger. But to go into your question, so I guess from my background as an intelligence analyst in the Marines, I did 2 deployments with 26th Marine Expeditionary Unit. My second deployment, I was the senior intelligence analyst with the command element. I guess from that training experience of real world missions, everything from NEO to combat to direct action missions, just being able to understand that every action, you want to do an action with intent to have what the outcome that you're looking for. So you're not just randomly doing things. So if you're going to make a move, you want to know what the intent of what that move is to do. And from, I guess, those experiences, threat analysis, understanding that, whatever action I have, the enemy's going to react, and then what's going to be my action, and then what's going to be their reaction. And it's basically the understanding that once you really kick something off, the plan kind of changes and evolves. So even though you might hit that first brick wall, it's like, okay, now we got to go over it, under it, around it, through it, and just having that same amount of capacity to just kind of roll with it and then accomplishing the mission. And as an attorney, I guess that'd be the same exact thing. You have your client that comes in the door, they tell you their set of facts. Through discovery, you start learning different facts or potential facts or different perspectives. And then which facts are admissible in court, which one are of public opinion, and then how to get that information into a court case if it is going to end up go that way, or if it's just going to be leveraged in some type of negotiated settlement. So I guess a lot of that really just blends over because the mission is to accomplish the goals of your client versus when you're Marines or you're combat or whatever, it's to accomplish the goals of whatever that specific mission is. So I guess that's where there is a lot of overlap.
Yeah, a lot. And I'm sure that really enhances the work that you do as an attorney and certainly relates to the work that you're trying to do now. So I was wondering if you could kind of set the stage for the audience on, some of the projects that you're working on now, what you're really trying to put your energy behind in the UAP space.
So at this point, I feel that, there's a lot of efforts that are out there. And as an attorney, I believe that there's a lot more that we could be doing, and there's a lot of attorneys in this involved in this subject, or that are paying attention but not necessarily taking active roles. At one point, NPI had put out a calling for any attorneys that wanted to assist in any way. I had reached out, and through that, I had made connections with a group of attorneys on the NPI legal team that we've been actually communicating quite frequently and starting to work together. I know that, again, I'm here on my own behalf right now, but just Danny Sheehan has been on a lot of podcasts lately talking about NPI legal, and there are from my perspective, we have 10 attorneys from around the country with various backgrounds, to include partners at law firms, former general counsel for intelligence organizations, all the way down to bankruptcy, business law. There's a pretty good talent pool with a various set of skills that have all come together, and the understanding that we want to understand what the truth is, and we want to be able to assist, if possible, bringing out the truth in the capacity, if we can. And again, so myself as an individual, I just want to be able to use the knowledge that I have and the skill sets that I might have that to assist people that are trying to accomplish maybe their goals or the overall goal of truth. And there's a lot of people that might be coming forward recently, or that are trying to go this on their own, and they're trying to fight against a system that's established, or that are corporations or the government. And if you go alone at that, I don't know how you can achieve, much. Like, what are you going to put a dent? There's the berserker and there's the Viking shield wall, right? So what can one berserker do versus the whole, Viking shield wall, and the way that they operate? 300 Spartans can do a hell of a lot more damage than one Spartan standing alone. So I feel like in that capacity, I've made some Twitter remarks saying that it behooves some people that are looking to come forward to maybe start building a team on their side, so that they can be better prepared for when they start making public statements, when they start maybe putting things on paper, if they're going to ever sign an affidavit, if they're ever going to make any testimony, any type of report, just to be aware of the ramifications for that. If somebody comes forward, they have a current job, and they want to put their story forward, they might not know how to even put a story forward. They might tell it in a outside of a timeline. It's scattered brain. They're just kind of recall things. Maybe slow down a little bit and put it on paper first, and then look at it, and then adjust it, and then really put your own thoughts together before you really put things out there. Because in today's society, and especially a subject like UAP and non-human intelligence, or in what you potentially are dealing with, once you're out there, you're opening yourself up for good faith attack, bad faith attack, just being discredited. And then there are probably people, if you do maybe have a puzzle piece, people might start really digging into your history, or really starting to pull some things out. And it'd behoove you to, at the very least, talk to people that in a pro bono capacity are willing to listen, and then maybe assist you or point you in the right direction.
That's what we're going to get tonight, man. We're going to get some answers. You want the truth? I'm sorry. We don't have to get you to go into your Nathan. What was that guy's name? His name was also Nathan, right?
Colonel Nathan something,
Jessup.
right?
Nathan Jessup.
Jessup. Yeah.
They can't handle the truth. I'm just kidding. Deb can handle the truth, and apparently she's ready to know it all. Open up all the vaults, show her all the sites, and she's gonna be like, "Wow, this is cool."
Yeah.
All right, Deb, go for it, my friend.
So my question is, since you're prepared to represent the people who need it, in coming forward with this topic, have you given some thought to some of those people who may feel like they had to do maybe some not so good immoral things, like the people, for instance, who might need amnesty when they come forward? Like what is the situation there legally for handling those people?
Great question, man.
All right. So before the representation point, there would be the consultation, right? So again, I think it behooves anyone that's any type of legal situation, whether it's going through a divorce or a parking ticket or speeding ticket or anything, any type of criminal, or hey, the police want me to come in and talk to them. It's like in your best interest to at least discuss your options with an attorney. And many attorneys or organizations or the bar associations, they offer some services where you can at least have a 10 or 20 minute consultation with someone. Just talk to them, maybe get a summary or an idea of the surface level of what's going on. And then, if you can assist, you assist in whatever capacity you can. If not, again, point them in the right direction, or maybe, flesh it out a little bit. There's with a subject like this, it would be something that really needs to be developed before there's really a representation type relationship. And if it's not us or me, it would be, how can I, if I can't assist, if I can't, then I'm definitely a person that is never, I don't try to overplay any cards that I have, and I don't try to overstate my skill set or what I'm trying to do. It's just, we're out there, we definitely have a pretty good knowledge base, so we can find the answer, and then you would hopefully leave whatever consultation with a better understanding of what you might be facing, or like you might not be being represented, but you are going to be more knowledgeable than when you first discussed your matter with us.
The voice you're hearing right there is that of attorney and former Marine, former Intel analyst, and UAP advocate, Sean Munger. And if you'd like his services and you use the coupon code CAB10, you can get 10% off of $500 per minute of consultation. So just let us know and we can connect you up with Sean. Speaking of connection,
there's no charge to these consultations or these discussions with these organizations.
It's not $500 a minute?
Absolutely not. Maybe
wow.
Litigation realm or whatever, the regular cases, that's might be the going rate, but not in this capacity or any organization that I'm associated with.
Well, there you go. This is what we love about Sean. Are you familiar with our new cabbie, Courtney Connected? Do you know her?
We haven't met. I believe that she might have talked to one of my acquaintances recently, but no, we haven't.
He and I actually met at the Soul Symposium. He came up, and we went out, and I got to know him. He was also serving on UAP Medical Coalition. We were there at the same time.
Yeah. So I think we have an acquaintance that's also an attorney out in California that I believe might be coming, being on an interview soon. That will be discussing some of their perspective on what's going on.
Oh, go ahead, Courtney. You have the floor, my friend.
So I have a real specific question, and I don't know if this is your area of expertise or you're involved in it or not at all, but I had heard that this was when I first got to the East Coast, so it was probably 3 weeks ago. I had heard that there was a group that came in to do congressional support for the Schumer Amendment, second reiteration. So are you involved with that at all in crafting the legislation or working on the different types of language that they're going to re-enter into that?
So I can say that I personally am not. I've heard rumblings of something similar. I put my opinions out of how I feel that legislation should be drafted. I think I don't know if it's fallen on deaf ears. I think I have my own opinions about if that isn't happening, what might be happening. So, but no, I am personally not associated with that or have had a consultation with that. If I did, I wouldn't be able to speak about it either, most likely.
Sean, as we're in this sort of, I'll use some sort of military analogies. We're in this sort of battle space here where there's been a heavy push. We sustained a bit of damage, little, sort of battle damage here via the task force or whatever they call themselves, and the report and the refutations and ignorances of certain incidents that have proven to be true and are with merit, with proof, with data, with video, with concurrence from several different angles of it. So what do you think that the opposition's position is now relative to that attack, and what stage, if you know what the sort of battle plan is, or what you think the battle plan is or should be, what would that be right now?
Of what, trying to move forward, or I guess
yes.
I know that there needs to be stronger legislation. I guess if that's me, we need stronger legislation that is actionable and provides some requirements for the organizations that are involved in this subject, that gives them some teeth to do things. And then also you need to have individuals in those positions that are able to do that, able to execute. So if you have a bunch of scientists working at an organization, they're going to act like scientists. If you have operators that work in there, there are more people that actually go out start looking in some doors, start opening boxes versus, sitting down and making, wonderful PowerPoint slides or, crafting up, you need to have some, maybe not door kickers, but you need to have people that have gone out and are investigators or ground investigators that go out, collect samples or, talk to people, inspect locations. I think that it's hard because you need to have the authority to be able to enter a lot of these spaces. So you would need, a search warrant or some type of law that's broken so that you can gain access, or potentially law or an allegation of a law broken so you can gain access to these locations. But that would be done in some type of law enforcement capacity, which is why I know a while ago I had written an article urging for the legislation to take a regulation approach versus eminent domain. And I think that I tried to stress it. It was probably, maybe a bridge too far at that point. There was so much momentum behind the eminent domain, and you had a lot of the I believe a lot of the individuals that are extreme advocates for this that are want to make sweeping changes and want to change the system or bring the system down or whatever their goals are by enacting eminent domain. We're going to take the toy away from the kid. Now we own the toy, and then we're going to give it to this organization of unappointed officials, and then they're going to decide what to do with it, but we're going to be the members of it, so we have the power now. I think that, again, from my intelligence background, from my attorney background, I think that might be a little short-sighted, and it's not thinking long-term or downstream effects. And I think it's actually much more dangerous to create an unappointed board of people that are now legislatively provided the power to actually, enact the secrecy that's potentially ongoing right now. So right now we're all afraid, there's corruption and people are stealing or they're hurting people. So with eminent domain and this board, you basically give the board all the power over all UAP. And then through eminent domain, you seize all the property that's out there. So you're taking, if there's UAP property that Ballet owns and he's in the United States and it's in the United States, arguably you're going to seize that from him. You're going to take all his science, all his reports. You're going to take all of Galileo's reports, all their science, everything that they found on the bottom of the ocean. You're going to take all that. Now the government has seized that through eminent domain. You're going to give 12 unelected people the power to decide what to do with all of that now. Now we're going to do it for the public good. Okay, what's the public good?
Right. It's not objective.
I can seize somebody's property and then hand it to another private entity through eminent domain. So you're basically giving in, yes, okay, so we might have one iteration of this council or this board that is not corrupted. But how long is it going to take until somebody corrupts it? If it took only two or three Congress people to shut down this whole, the UAP Disclosure Act, all they need to do is get one person on this board or two people on the board. We have no guarantees that they're all going to be allies of us. We have no guarantees that they're going to have not have conflict. What's going to be the vetting process? What's going to be the way to get them off? And then all of a sudden, they can just decide, all right, let's keep this classified. It's too earth-shattering. And then you've basically given a governing board the power to not disclose. And you can't have, a college can't go out and find its own evidence because eminent domain. I found new evidence. Oh, eminent domain goes to the government, board has it, kick it back to the Indiana Jones warehouse because it's all going to be under their power. I'm more of a proponent of you enact strong regulation that's thinking downstream. So you regulate this emerging technology, right? This emerging industry, right? Of, okay, we need the current holders of UAP, non-human intelligence technology, or non-human biologics. You have to disclose that you have it. Give us, keep it in the derivative classification level, which means that if it's TSSCI that you have it, it stays at TSSCI. However, you have to disclose it to the legislating committees that are the proper ones, and you can legislate this. It's not very hard. You must create an unclassified annex describing what you have and size, weight, and that you are. I guess that's all you need: size and weight. 3x3 non-human intelligence technology, that's metal. Boom, that's it. You have disclosure. You're done. We got disclosure. Now they hold that technology, so you have it at defense contractor number 1. You have some at defense contractor number 2. You have some at the college level, and then there's an unclassified open report. We have disclosure. We've crossed the line. And then science can start saying, oh shit, this is real. And they can start looking at it. So instead of having to, have lawsuits and all the money that these corporations, if they are holding stuff, have dumped into this of their own money, arguably, maybe. But once it's disclosed, you can always tighten the screws later. Let's just get over the line, get the industry that's currently potentially holding these things in line with the regulations, work with them to be in compliance, and then regulate it. And you can even model it, instead of modeling this after the JFK documents that are still not fucking public, model it after the Controlled Substance Act, that even though everybody, a lot of people are against the Controlled Substance Act, right? It worked in a capacity that you would locate drugs, you could use law enforcement to enter where they are, and you could seize property through it. So you could do forfeiture laws that are similar to controlled substance laws, where if you are not in compliance, if you do not disclose that you are holding NHI technology or non-human biologics, but that's going to kill me right now. That, okay, now you are not in compliance. Now, because you are breaking the law, it's an act. We can use existing law enforcement, so we're not reinventing the wheel. We're not creating these different infrastructures. We're like, hey, they just broke federal law XYZ. Okay, FBI, go get a search warrant. Go in there. Then you have a bunch of pencil pushing FBI guys that go through their books, and then you seize the billions of dollars of industry that they've had from it because they are not in compliance with the UAP Disclosure Act. That's regulating the future industry. And then even if, I know I'm probably running around a lot, but even if you did eminent domain, so even if you did eminent domain and it goes to this board, then you have to hand it over to, somebody to study it. That's a private entity. And then you're going to have to regulate how they handle it, what they do with that. So we're skipping a step. We're like, no, let's just regulate it. So that even if it hasn't happened yet, if a UFO crashes or some alien probe comes down and lands in Wisconsin, it's on the books. So if it doesn't come out now, it's on the books 1,000 years from now. That's the probe that's shot out from Zeta Reticuli now that lands here 1,000 years from now. We're like, oh shit, go to page so-and-so, National Defense Act of 2025. All right, it says that, you got to do this with it. So let's just regulate it. Let's just create
Sean,
now.
Let me bring something up here. On a broader level, it's just inconsistent with current American sort of values, political and otherwise. It would be like if Fugel and company found something on their property and all of a sudden the task force, someone from the task force marched in and took it and maybe did it on camera. I mean, so it's just, it was a lark from the word go. And I almost think it was put in there to make the legislation fail. But I'm not going to continue on that because I'm going to pass it over to these other guys, and I'm going to come back around because I got a whole nother question for you. But it's not consistent with American values. I think just in broad terms.
It would discourage, someone like Fugel to dig. If there's an anomaly under the ground there, if he digs it up and it's something that potentially is, 1 billion years old that crashed here a long time ago from a former civilization or whatever it is, then the government just comes and seizes it. And then this board says what to do with it. It's dangerous because it can be used against you. It's bringing a gun to a fist fight when it's just a fist fight. You just introduced a gun where it's, now you're fighting over a gun because that board is going to have all the power and it can be used against you just as easy as it can be used for you. And it's putting all of that information in the one organization. I don't like it because it scares me because, it might be, the first round might be on our side, but the second round, if again, like a defense contractor that has $1 trillion budget just starts lining pockets, they can grease those wheels for the next election cycle to get on that board, and then boom, they own it. And then they have the property back. And they have the power to legally do what they want with it because those people decide.
Yeah, we certainly can't give that much pay. It'd be like the Jedi Council, right, Nathan?
Mm-hmm.
You know, they voted for Anakin Skywalker, and that was a great idea. Actually, maybe it wasn't. All right, take it away. Yeah.
It's the clone army. It's basically the clone army. Where they're like, we need this to fight against the droid army. And then it turns around, you're like, we just created what was used against us.
Mm-hmm.
But they never taught them to shoot.
Those are the okay, we get into that. Let's get into that.
Nathan.
I'll point out Princess Leia doesn't know how to shoot either. When she's in the whole hallway, when they have to go across, she takes like 50 shots, and I think she maybe nails one. Maybe.
Yeah, that's true. She could. We should check her marksmanship qual. I'd like to see what her scores were out in the range personally, but that's another matter. Money Nathan, take it away.
Yeah, well, so I mean, I have a lot of questions, so we could go in a lot of different directions. But there have been rumors about potential. I don't know if they were executive orders or pieces of legislation that are sort of hidden from the public record. That there's rumors about this. There may have been some sort of edict of some kind in the past that has set up a kind of sort of secret classification or some sort of entire system that allows these secret keepers to do what they do unfettered from the laws that are on the books now. And so I'm curious, does this to some degree feel like a kind of asymmetric, to kind of borrow the metaphor from earlier, an asymmetric warfare where you're really fighting against an opponent that where you may not even know all of the cards that they have to play. You may not know all the tools that they have to bring to the fight. And so, how would you go about engaging in kind of turning the tide there? So that's kind of one aspect of this question. But the other aspect of it is this is such a big issue. It's not just like a U.S. thing. Is there any sort of international framework that we could bring to bear on this topic as well? Because it seems like it would have to be inevitably an international matter to a certain degree.
I guess you got the executive, the legislation, and the judicial. So you got the three branches of government. So the executive makes their executive orders, and the legislation makes the laws, and the judicial is basically, I believe it is said that if the legislation hasn't spoken on the matter, then the executive could act on it. So especially if they've never expressly acted on it, right? So you have the three power dynamic of our government. So you have the executive branch. Let's say if they created an executive order in the 1950s, and everything has kind of been downstream from that, where I'm acting under Executive Order 0001. And it's my best understanding and in good faith, I'm acting in under the law, because there's been no law created to say that I'm doing is wrong. If you're in, Minnesota or whatever state had no speed limits, and you're driving 200 miles an hour down the road because there's no posted speed limit and nobody stops you, and then all of a sudden, that's where I like going to the regulation versus eminent domain. This kind of ties into that. Is okay. If all of a sudden you create a 60 mile an hour zone, I'm not going to write you a ticket for what you did 6 years ago. You drove 200 miles an hour on the road. You were acting, I guess, in a legal capacity then. But also, what was legal 50 years ago might not be legal now. Laws change, our culture changes. What we find acceptable. What we need to create those laws in order to enforce them. And because the legislation has never, I don't believe, spoken on this matter, they arguably, and again, this is actually discussion that we've had when you get 10 attorneys together talking about matters. It's okay, let's flesh this out. And this is also not a topic that academic or legal law review articles are not being written about yet. But because we have a pretty group of individuals that are go-getters and some that are really really like to get after it, are now in communication with some, and there might be some, right about that. Okay, if there was a law enacted, an executive order in the 50s that came out, how would you, change that, or what would come about, legislating this now? And yeah, that's actually been one of our conversations that when we meet and talk. So you would need the legislation to draft and have that pass. Now the thing is so you have if hypothetical, if there is an executive power that has been untouched all of these years, an executive might not want, the president might not want to disclose that they have this power and this ability to do these things, because then the next one won't, and it might open up a whole can of worms of what the executive before me did before them. So again, that could be, as Lewis said, sometimes that rotten fruit that nobody's really gone into and dug out. But as far as I know, until recently, the legislation has not really tackled this subject. So hopefully if they're meeting and they're drafting this now, hopefully they're thinking not just now, but they're thinking downstream, and there could be some minor adjustments written in the National Defense Authorization Act that create sweeping change. You don't need, all you have to do is write, a reporting requirement, just like one line. All shall make an unclassified annex of all reports. So anything that goes to Arrow at the derivative classification level, which means that, if you collected something on a top secret SCI or, satellite or underwater, if you collected information or data on an on a classified sensor system, that information is now derivatively classified at the same level, because you don't want to reveal the source and method of how you collected it. However, if you create the requirement that you shall make an unclassified annex of your report, then now we're on record. It's like, okay, there's a UAP report of something entering, exiting your atmosphere, or moving at strange waves. All you need is a report. That an unclassified report could just be like, report made by the NRO to Arrow, and that's it. So now you have a record. This is where all the reports are coming from. So you don't really, and maybe if you can put some type of unclassified narrative in there, small metallic object, picked up on classified sensor system. That's it, one line. And all you have to do, you don't have to do a crazy legislation. All you have to do is create the reporting requirement in the National Defense Authorization Act, and it's up to the organizations to be in compliance with that. So, okay, you make a classified report to Arrow or any other, or to the committees, or however the legislation is drafted now, and I shall make an unclassified report. And I know it's possible. I was an intelligence analyst in the Marines. I was read into different compartments with the top secret clearance. I would have information, but my trigger pullers are all, a bunch of door kicking Marines, and they need the information so that they can execute on the target. So I need to figure out a way to provide information to my Marines that keeps them alive, that was maybe collected at the classified level. So if I have to, hand draw a rock on a target, or brief the pilot, say, hey, there's a higher than 5 degree slope on this open field, don't land there. But I learned that on the top secret level, but I kept my pilot alive by telling him on an unclassified level. Then you do it. So you create the requirement, and then it's up to the organization that collected it at the high side to get it down to the public, and then it shall be disclosed to the public. Make an unclassified report that's released once a year, and then you'll see all the reports.
One of the problems is that I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you don't need to do, crazy legislation to do sweeping, changes. You don't need to go out and say, I'm going to change the world. All you have to do is invent a longer lasting light bulb, and that in effect changes the world.
Hey, Sean, one of the problems is you could have a JWIC SharePoint where the webmaster has like 7 people that have access to that folder, and that folder could contain information that at a specific department or at a specific end of our country, maybe 7 people have access to that folder, and that so if you're an investigator, you're looking for something you don't know exists, and that can be problematic if if you don't have access to that SharePoint of that folder. But
I
anyway,
guess
let's we have 18 minutes left, so let's get Deb in there and let's get Court in there, and then I've got another question for you, my friend. Debs.
I want to change this into a more social question for you.
Oh,
This is something that I don't understand about this. We have some of the most educated and arguably intelligent people, including doctors, scientists, administrators, lawyers, and so forth, interested in the UAP topic. And yet, for some reason, people are more inclined to listen to video game streamers and video game developers on this topic. So, please explain to me what is going on with that.
so. I guess from my experience is so when you write a legal memo, you put all the information you want that judge to read in like the first 3 lines, and then you end up inundating them with that like a giant legal, all the case law and everything else. But you want to make sure that they get the gist of it, or not the first 3 lines. That's inaccurate. Okay, I'll get eviscerated by other attorneys. So, but you want to make sure that they're going to get to the point if they do a summary brief around summarily look at it. You want to make sure that the information gets them. So you need to package the information that you're trying to get to your audience in a way that they're going to receive it. So, and that might be something that you discuss with the individual or group. Like, hey, we're trying to express this information to the world, and we're trying to convince the world that our information is correct. So, like, you got to really know your audience if you're trying to accomplish, trying to get public opinion on your side.
Okay, so Sean, I want you and all these doctors and scientists and all these other really brilliant people to start streaming video games.
Well, so
you can package this better.
You need the scientists to talk to the scientists, but you also need to have a lay person that's also a scientist to be able to, translate that to the lay person, or to how do I get this information that is above all our head and explain it to somebody, walk into a platoon of Marines and explain it to them where they're going to go, then they're going to go out and do what they got to do. Right. So, yeah, you just got to make sure you package it in a way that your audience or you're going to be able to consume it. So that that's kind of it's on the person that's trying to relay the information. If I'm in front of a jury and it's a jury from Boston, I'm going to probably talk a certain way. If I go to Georgia, I'm probably going to talk a certain way. I might change my language. I might decide to introduce evidence in a different angle or at a different time because I have a jury that I'm trying to convince that the information I'm providing in front of them is the more correct information than the person that's opposing it.
So we want to hear the next answer in Southie, complete Southie. So go ahead, Court.
Okay, bear with me because I had like an light bulb moment today. And so you might not have the answer to this, but I'm just going to throw it out there. So, I was in a space last night. I couldn't get in on my own phone, so I went on a friend. So nobody knew I was in the space, which was kind of nice. So I could just listen without feeling any social pressure. And I heard a lot of information that I had never heard before in any of the UFO history, program names, other things. I mean, just a huge dump of information. So I'm just wondering, how would you recommend if people read that transcript and they download it and they look at all that information, how can we facilitate either moving those program names into the actual NDAA process that's happening with the recordization release? I mean, what would you recommend for people that are really doing activism or tuning into this, maybe even for the first time, and they want to follow these programs? How can they get to their local person in Congress to make sure those specific records would be released under the new act? I know there's a timeline coming, and they have to approve things through different groups of the IC. But what would you recommend for just common folk?
I honestly have to go back through the NDA, National Defense Authorization Act, to see the reporting requirements and who that's supposed to go to. I summarily looked at it earlier, but I wouldn't want to misquote it. Can you message me, and then I could get back to you on that?
I don't think I'm connected to you, but I think I can message DJ. So I'll follow up with DJ.
Okay. You're Courtney connected. You connect with anybody.
It's okay. I actually don't want to put any more work on you, really, so you don't have to do any follow-up. I actually just wanted to ask you the question because my curiosity was kind of going, and I was like, this would be a good thing for us in the UAP community to actually do activism on.
Within the government, though, the government agencies and organizations are need to be in compliance with providing whatever information in their holdings over to the archives, and then I think at the classification level and or bring it down. So if it is a holding, however, when it's on the unclassified side, perhaps this might be an approach that someone could use. When there is an unclassified report, take the information that you have and then synthesize it with what is being publicly disclosed, see if there's any discrepancies, and then potentially then through investigative work, if there's ever any complaints that are filed through discovery, or if there's a potential whistleblower or some type of action or an individual that comes forward and maybe says that there is rules and laws or regulations being broken, and here's the information that was not disclosed, that might be actionable. So
yeah, that's what I was wondering. I was wondering about the discrepancy part, mainly like taking the transcripts and just doing that parallel process with the stuff that, might be released and the timing of it. Thank you.
Yep. And again, so there's going to be stuff that is going to be able to stay classified. So through a local legislation, congressperson, or, if there's allies that we have, and there's people that we have been in communication with or whatever, there might be avenues, but building your network, the correct network, and maybe not showing your cards until it's time to show your cards, might be an approach to take.
The voice you're hearing right there is that of attorney Sean Munger, also known as Bob Plissken on Twitter. He is not only an attorney, he's a UAP advocate. He's a Marine. He's my homie, and he looks like he has a deployment beard right now, or at least what I would have imagined him on deployment, because last time he was super clean shaven. This is Calling All Beings. Next, we were about 2 weeks away from being on Untold Radio Network. That is the only place that you will find Calling All Beings on YouTube or podcast. So more to come on that. Nathan will have some stuff out there so you can find where we at. Sean, last question. We have about 10 minutes to go. The reason that I want you to finish the sentence for me, please, so that we can get inside you as a person as it relates to UAP specifically. The reason this topic resonates with me and I'm passionate about it is
I guess from my life's journey, so I actually have a tattoo down the back of my arm. It's Veritas, which is truth.
Truth.
And I got that shortly after my first deployment. And as an intelligence analyst, and the information that you come across and you synthesize and you turn information into intelligence, and your life experiences and seeing the world and different countries and different cultures, and I think truth is something that I guess needs to be pursued. But I think perspective, and the angles that you're coming at it have a really big influence on it. So like my truth might not be your truth, and especially with the human experience. I guess through that on my journey is that, you have, an investigative work as, the Marine, an attorney, in fleshing out more information from an individual. It's that pursuit of truth, and what is truth, and what is purpose, and what is that. And I feel that, there's an unknown here, there's a lot of allegations. There's a lot of claims. There's a lot of people that, you know, are not perfect people that may have had experiences and want to say that, you know, you can have a crazy person be a witness to a murder. That, like, that's just, it is what it is, you know. So you're going to have those that happen, and it's just, I guess, the pursuit of truth and whatever it is. But there's definitely threads and smoke, and there's, you know, all over the place, and there's nothing wrong with pursuing, you know, what is that? You know, if there's smoke around, you know, coming out of a house, you know, there's people that just keep driving. There's people that say, oh, they probably just have a fire going. There's other people that knock on the door and say, hey, I just want to make sure your house isn't burning down. You know, there's some people, you know, that they'll burst in the door and they'll drag people out. So I'm more of an individual that, you know, if I see trash on the ground, I'll pick it up, I'll throw it away. So, and this is just something that, you know, it deserves to be looked at. It deserves to be looked at seriously. Individuals need to be, deserve to at least be listened to, and then, you know, allow them the room to, you know, tell their story. I mean, as a litigation attorney, that the stuff that comes in there, and you're like, wow, that I was not expecting that. And as you go through, you start seeing that, you know, there's some imperfect stuff, and there's some incredible things that are not believable that happen. You know, just sit in any courtroom at any day, you're like, holy, what's this story? You know, sit in a trial, you're like, well, you'd never believe that, but it's the truth. It's what came out. And I think that this subject deserves that. And the truth does. If there is a non-human intelligence, or if there's something, if it's spiritual, if it's demons, if it's whatever the hell it is, it deserves to be known about. We deserve to know. We rate knowing what our existence is.
So it hasn't touched you personally, is kind of where I was going.
I try to stay away from my personal experiences. I've definitely shared, you know, what I may or may not have, you know, come across in some points, because again, I feel like if I had discussed those, that becomes the focus, and and I'm not going to move the ball down with the information that I'm aware of or believe, or that's not going to do any help. That anything that can be used against me, because somebody's going to look at it, they're going to go clip this and say, Sean Munger believes X, Y, and Z, and now he's just doing confirmation bias, and that is absolutely not the route that I ever want to go. You know, show me wrong, and if anything, it's, you know, I try to, you know, stay open to everything. I just listen. You know, I weigh, I confirm what I can, I deny what I can, and I guess at the end of the day, I am the individual that is probably building. I'm building, you know, a packet on you if you're working in the background, and if you're lying, you know, we're going to figure that out. So don't be coming forward with bullshit, because, you know, we're going to get rid of you as quickly as we can, because we're trying to clear the mud out of this water.
That's $2.50 in the cursing jar from the Southie. That's $2.50.
This one is my favorite, actually, from tonight.
Yeah. No,
I mean, that's a big takeaway for me. I mean, I'm going to start doing that to people on the street and see what they do in response to me.
I want to say, you'll know, like, if you've watched Cab enough, we're not going to ask you about your personal business and you to share what your experience is. The question was really centered around, had it touched you personally? And it obviously has in some way. The details of that are for whom you want to share that with, and nobody else. And this show respects that and regards that. We don't need to know what that experience was, but just that it touched you. With that, let's go with Cabby Goodbyes, starting with Courtney Connected, your new homie.
Hey, it was great to meet you. I have heard about you, and I wish you luck in all of your endeavors legally for all the people involved. And I do hope you get on that Schumer legislation. I think it would be really good to have more people involved with it. It seems like a very small circle. We're not hearing much information. And since this is a law that really, you know, affects, you know, the whole US and all our population and all our voters and everything, it would be nice to have more people involved with it and not be such a small circle.
I guess it's potentially, you want to bring people with opposing views into your conversations, in your planning cells, into your, you know, when you're doing something. or if not, you might end up with an echo chamber, and you're not going to see, what the other person sees. So that's why I constantly engage with people that are on the opposing side or the opposing idea of mine. I try to. There's definitely some bad actors in the Twitter sphere, but I try to engage with them, especially if they engage me respectfully, because I might be fucking wrong. I might have missed something. I might have, I don't know. They might have picked something up. So I'm going to give them the respect that they give me, or I'll at least lead with respect, because I could be wrong, and I might have missed something. And if I surround myself with a bunch of yes people, or people that think that my way of, a legal solution is right, then I might have missed something, that might have been easier, or might have actually accomplished the goal that we were looking for. And be reminded to stay goal oriented. Try not to get caught up with it. Like, okay, what's the goal of this? What was the goal of putting this information out? Because we want this to occur.
And as was mentioned earlier about the front and the sort of movement, and if you're in another country, if you're in the UK, if you're in Australia, if you're in Spain, if you're in Italy, engage with your government and your representatives on this issue. To just surf Twitter and look at what's going on in the US space is not going. It's a unified front, and you have to flank that unified front in order to divert resources and assets to speak to it and to defend against it. So engage with your government wherever you are and your representatives on this topic, and don't think that just watching the U.S. Twitter space and following U.S. legislation is necessarily going to do it, because we are not the only ones that have these occurrences, nor have information about these occurrences. They're occurring all over the world. So, Debsy.
Yeah. So my question earlier was really because I don't understand how people are taking lately what you're saying, and you didn't respond lately. You responded very seriously, and I want to point that out to people who were listening, that there are very intelligent people working on this subject, that we need to respect and listen to. And I
Like
thank you
me?
very
No,
much
I'm
for
sorry.
the
This sorry.
and I thank you very much for the service that you're providing people from that approach, and the service that you've provided for your country, and the service that you're going to continue to provide for the world. Thank you.
Thank you.
Monet. Nathan.
Yeah, Sean, it's been a real pleasure. You've highlighted the various reasons why this is such a complicated topic. I mean, it's an onion in an onion, really. There's so many layers to this, and I think we're starting to see cracks in that shield wall that you talked about earlier. It's certainly not the case, at least from my perspective, that there's a singular agency or authority that's just sort of guarding all the secrets. That really the secrets are highly compartmentalized, and we're going to have to get some breaks there from one of those compartments in order to, I think, crack this open. So I applaud the efforts that you're making here, and the alliances that you're making with other attorneys. We need people like you on this topic, people who are dedicated to it, who are thoughtful, and really bringing some excellent analysis to the subject. So appreciate the work that you're doing. Really look forward to catching up with you in the future as things continue to unfold. And we're pulling for you. So keep up the great work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sean, I want to echo what Nathan said. Also want to tell people that if you go to the debrief.org, you can find Sean's writings and reporting there. And Sean is a multi-tool player. He is not only engaging in the Twitter space like we all are, and occasionally going on a podcast, but he's also, as he mentioned, engaged with other lawyers. He's engaged with other journalists, like the whole staff at the Debrief, and he's shown a talent for being able to write about and provide some perspective on this disclosure effort. You really are a true warrior, and I admire you, what you're doing, which is vastly more significant than what I'm doing, which is why I wanted to have you on here, because I know that how you've put yourself out there on several different areas to advocate for this topic. And it doesn't seem like you're backing down anytime soon. So if you want to sort of emulate Sean. Look for how you can do this wherever you are, what he's doing, and leverage your talents against this requirement. So thank you so much, Sean. I really do appreciate you being here, sir.
Thank you. I'm just I hope that um, the free time that I do dedicate to this, I want to make sure that it's hopefully I can assist when I can, help others in their endeavors and the goals that they're trying to achieve as well. And being a person that understands that it's I'm not trying to score the touchdown. I just want to make sure that whatever effort that I'm a part of the team, I'm actually adding value. So I don't want to add noise. I just want to add value if and when I can, and then keep my mouth shut, the rest of the time. So I thank you for having me on. Hopefully I was able to help or make you maybe think a little bit outside a little bit and be like, oh, maybe that might be a potential at least listening to or to consider, a different opinion. So thank you for listening to me and thank you for allowing me to speak. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I appreciate it. We will see you again. So check us out. Give us a like and a subscribe if you would. Comment any of those things that sort of help the metrics as we move over to the network. We want them to know that they're getting a good product in here. We're bringing people on like Bob Plissken. So thank you very much on behalf of Bob Plissken, also known as Sean Munger, and Courtney Connected, and Debs and Nathan. This is DJ saying peace out. One love. We'll see you down the road. And we're always wondering what's up around the bend.